In this video, we are continuing in the Tape Tutor Practice Book 2, and we are up to lesson 31. We are solving, practice 31. We are solving multiplication comparison problems, and that begins on page 16. So if you turn to page 16, and I'll do the same. And I have copied my problems over to notebook paper just to give myself a little bit more room to work these. But they're the same problems. I've just moved them over to some notebook paper. So let's take a look here at number 1. It says Carlos runs for 15 minutes. Jerry runs 4 times as long as Carlos. How long does Jerry run? So they're telling me exactly how to solve this. If I just recognize it, it says that Jerry is 4 times Carlos. And is my equal sign. We don't know how long Jerry runs, but I know that it's 4 times Carlos, and I know that Carlos runs for 15 minutes. So Jerry is 4 times 15, and that is 60 minutes. They could also choose to write that as 1 hour. I've seen that happen a lot. But in this particular case, they did not. They kept it as 60 minutes. And so the answer is C. Jerry runs for 60 minutes. Number 2. Kara earns $240 on Saturday, which is 3 times as much as Cameron earns on Saturday. How much does Cameron earn on Saturday? So they tell me that Kara is 3 times Cameron. We know that Kara is 240, and that is 3 times Cameron. We don't know Cameron, so I'm just going to say 3C. So I need to solve this equation. I've got 240, and you could standardize it right there if you wanted to. It doesn't matter. So we have number and letter. I should have said constant and variable. We're going to divide both sides by 3. So we have C. I bring down the 0, and 3 into 24 is 8. Cameron earns $80. That's answer A. And then in part B, they want to know how I found that, or which equation could be used to find that. And that's going to be that Cameron is 240 divided by 3. That's what we did right here to solve our equation. So 240 divided by 3 would be D. That's how we solved the equation that we set up. So to get this question correct, to get full credit, you would have to tell me both A and D on that second part. This is a two-part question. Okay, number 3. Whoops, it's down here. Frederick drives 7 times as far as Tony. Tony drives 24 miles. How far does Frederick drive? So they're saying that Frederick is 7 times as far as Tony. So there's my equals. We're looking for Frederick. Tony drives 21, so 7 times 21. So Frederick drives, and we don't have a calculator, so let me work it out over here for you. 7 and then 14. 147 miles for Frederick. Number 4. Kirk buys 1 bag of apples that weighs 2 pounds. He buys a watermelon that weighs 5 times as much as the bag of apples. How many pounds of fruit does Kirk buy? So I'm not even going to look at those choices. I'm just going to set this up in my own words. The apples plus the watermelon together make the total pounds. Okay. We know that the apples weigh 2 pounds and that the watermelon weighs 5 times the apples. So this would give me my total. I know that the apples are 2, so 5 times 2 would be the weight of the watermelon. So 2 plus 10 is 12. 12 would be the total weight. So number 4, the first part, A, the answer is C, 12 pounds. And then which equation did we use to solve the problem? Well, we've already got it right here. They're using a W for total weight, but that's okay. Which one of their equations looks just like ours? 2 plus 5 times 2, and that's going to be B. So if you're working the problem out, chances are you're already getting the answer that you need for both parts. Jake scores 1.5 times higher than Ben in a game of bowling. Jake's score is 225. So they're telling us Jake is 1.5 times Ben. And we know that Jake is 225. We know that the equal sign goes with is. We don't know Ben, so I'm going to use a B to stand for Ben. And then we do need to solve this equation. We have to, the variable is on the opposite side of the 225. So we need to figure out what this is actually going to be. You know how to do that. So draw your solving frame if you like that method. If you don't, it's fine. If your teacher's shown you another way, that's perfectly fine. But this is the constant, the number side, and this is the variable side. And we're going to divide by 1.5 on both sides. Now if we had a calculator, life would be grand right here, but we don't. So I'm going to do what I'm supposed to and work this out for you longhand. So I have 225 divided by 1.5. So I have to move the decimal and move it the same number of places over here. That's a 0. And we have to use the iterations of 15. So 15 times 1 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30. And I'm actually going to stop right there. That just may be enough, because we're taking 15 into 22, which is 1 time. And 22 minus 15, we have to borrow. That is 7. And I bring down a 5. Now I'm up to 30. I need a 75, so I'm going to have to keep going here. 3 15s are 45. 4 15s are 60. We're getting there. Here it is. 5 15s are 75. So at the 5th iteration I get what I need, and it is exactly 75. But don't forget about this guy. You have to bring down that 0. Can't just ignore him, because 15 into 0 is 0 times, and then you can stop your problem. So the answer here, Ben, is 150. So Ben's score is 150. Okay? It's not an easy problem. You definitely need some algebra to solve that one. Alright, number 6. Amy owns 2 factories that produce plastic components. The larger factory produces 3 times as many components per day as the smaller factory. The number of components produced at the smaller factory is S. Which 2 expressions can represent the total number of components produced per day? So they tell me something very important right here. Don't get lost in all these words. The larger factory produces 3 times as many components as the smaller one. So the larger factory is 3 times the smaller factory. Get that part down first. That's the story. We know that is would be the equal sign. We know that the smaller factory is S, and we need to multiply 3 times S. And we need to find 2 expressions that represent the total number produced per day. Now when they say the total number, they want the larger and the smaller. Okay? So what they really want us to do is take the larger company plus the smaller company and add those amounts together. Now this is telling me the larger one is 3 times S. that goes here. So 3S. And the smaller company, they said to let that be S. So 4S would be one of my choices. That is going to be option B, 4 S's. 3S plus S, that is E. It's just in the opposite order, and that's fine with addition. So for number 6, the two answers that you want are B and E. Number 6, B and E. That's a tough little question. You really have to think through that one. And even then, thinking through it, it's still not an easy one. I like that one though. Number 7. Delbert bakes 6 times as many loaves of bread as Keith. Delbert bakes 12 loaves. So Delbert is 6 times Keith. And they tell me that Delbert bakes 12. So 12 is 6 times Keith. And we don't know Keith, so I'm going to let that be a K. So we have 12 equals 6K. And this is solvable with a frame. You have your constant and you have your variable. So we need to move the 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So Keith bakes 2 loaves of bread. And that is answer A. Then in part B, they want me to pick the equation that fits. And what did we do to get the answer? Right there, we divided by 6. So I would go with C on this one. Keith is 12 divided by 6, which is 2. Number 8. Shauna sells 3 times as many cars on Tuesday as she sells on Monday. She sells 6 cars on Tuesday. How many cars does Shauna sell on Monday? So they tell me that Tuesday is 3 times Monday. Get your story straight, and then you can fill in the rest of it. She sells 6 cars on Tuesday, so we know that that's 3 times Monday. So my equation is 6 equals 3m, and that is solvable. So we have a constant on one side and a variable on the other side. I will divide both sides by 3, and so Monday she sold 2 cars, and that is answer B. So number 8, the answer is B. Number 9. Oliver drinks 2.5 times as much water as Andre drinks. Oliver drinks 400 milliliters of water. So how much water does Andre drink? Get your story straight. Oliver is 2.5 times Andre. Oliver is 400 milliliters, and that's 2.5 times A. We don't know Andre's amount, so we'll put A down there. So my equation is 400 equals 2.5 A, and that is solvable. I wish I had a calculator. Those of you who do are lucky. Here's the constant, and here Andre is the variable in this problem. So we're going to divide both sides by 2.5. You could do it as a fraction, but I prefer decimals usually. Not always, but usually. So 400 divided by 2.5. Have to move that decimal, which means moving it here and adding a 0. And you can list the iterations. Let me just do that because that's what I've told you to do. So 1 times 25 is 25. 2 times 25 is 50. I'm going to stop there. I may not have to go any further, but if I do, I can always add to it. 25 can't go into 4, but it goes into 40 one time. And 1 times 25 is 25. So we subtract and get 15. Bring down one of the zeros. So I am going to have to continue my iterations out to 150, or as close to 150 as I can go. I know that 4 times 25 is 100. You can think of money, quarters, and do these a little bit more easily. Here's the one I want. At the 6th iteration, I get exactly 150. So let's say that would be 6 times for 150. But we're not done. We got to bring down that last 0. 25 into nothing is nothing. Now we're done. And the answer is 160 milliliters. So Andre is 160 milliliters. That one is much easier if you have a calculator. Number 10. Sam buys boots and a shirt. The cost of the boots is 3.5 times the cost of the shirt. The shirt costs $12. So we know that the boots are 3.5 times the shirt. Are is a linking verb. That's your equal sign. We know the shirt costs 12. So 3.5 times 12 will give us the cost of the boots. And we don't have to use algebra this time. We can just multiply. 3.5 times 12. Now, I need to do that without a calculator. So I'm going to have to come down here and work this out. 2 5s are 10. 6 plus 1 is 7. Move over 1. 1 times 5 and 1 times 3. Add your partial products. Place 1 decimal. So that is $42. It's a good review of how to multiply your decimals. So the boots were $42. And how did we find that? We did D. We multiplied 12 by 3.5. Remember, with multiplying, you can put it in either order. 12 times 3.5 or 3.5 times 12. Answers to number 10 are C and then D. Sarah raises a pig, and it is now 37 times heavier than it was a year ago. The pig weighs W pounds now. Which two expressions represent the weight of the pig 1 year ago. Get your story straight. Now the pig is 37 times heavier than it was last year. It's grown. That makes sense. The pig weighs W now. So W is 37 times last year. Okay. And then we're kind of stuck because we don't have another number. Normally we would have another number to solve this problem. So let's keep working here. We can do this. Its weight now is 37 times last year. So if I divide 37L by 37, in other words, I am just solving this problem, I would have to do that over here as well. And look at what we stumble onto. Last year and now. So W divided by 37, that's going to be C. Guys, this is a high set level problem. This is a tough question. And the other one that says the same thing is F. You would have to divide its weight now by 37 to find out its last year's weight. So sometimes they don't give you the other number. They want you to sort of reason through the problem. So number 11 is C and F. Number 12. Tevin attends his history class in a lecture hall that has 4 times as many seats as the lecture hall for his math class. So let's get the story straight. History is 4 times math. The lecture hall for his math class has 100 seats. How many seats does the lecture hall for Tevin's history class have? Well, history is 4 times 100. So history is 400. And that is B. We didn't have to solve an equation. We really are solving an equation. It looks like this. But here's the deal on this one. When you go to set up your solving frame, you don't have to move anything. The variable is already where it needs to be. The constant is already where it needs to be. You just have to do the math. So you really are solving an equation. It just doesn't involve any moving of terms. So number 12 is B. Number 13. 4 times the number of employees at a company take a vacation in June compared to the number who take a vacation in March. So they're saying that June is 4 times March. And that makes sense. Kids are off in the summer. I can see that. In March, 8 employees take a vacation. So June is 4 times 8. That means June is 32. How many employees take a vacation in June? That would be 32. In part B, which equation can be used to find the employees who take a vacation in June? And to do that, we did 8 times 4, or 4 times 8. And that is D. So both of these for number 13 are D. And finally, a house is 40 times larger than a scale model. There's the story. A house is 40 times the model. The scale model is 11 inches tall. Which equation can be used to find the height of the house? So the house is 40 times 11. Here's how I would write it. And A would be the answer. Let's go ahead and find it. I can't stand to see it not finished. I also like to know if my answer makes sense. So 11 times 40, you can just bring that 0 down and then multiply around it. So the height of the house is 440 inches. And just suppose they wanted us to turn that into feet. Let me show you how to do that, because that happens a lot. You would divide by 12. So 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 12 times 3 is 36. 12 times 4 is 48. So the fourth iteration is too big. We want to go with the third one. So 12 can't go into 4, it goes into 44 3 times, and that's 36. So 14 minus 6 is 8. Bring down a 0, and then 12 into 80. So 12 times 5 is 60. 12 times 6 is 72. 12 times 7 is too big. It's 84. So we want the sixth iteration, and that is 72 and 8. And I wanted to show you this because here's how you deal with a remainder. Let me pull my iterations over out of the way so I have. And I know our question did not ask this, but this is a good one to show you this on. So remember, when we wrote fractions and mixed numbers, this is going to be 36 times 8 over 12. So remember, you have quotient R over D, QRD. 36, 8 over 12. Now that 8 over 12 will simplify. It's not lowest terms. So let's divide it by 4. And we get 4 into 8 is 2. 4 into 12 is 3. So the final answer would be 36 2/3 feet tall. And that makes sense for a house. It's 440 inches or 36 2/3 feet tall. Okay, I know I went a little too far on that one, but it's always a good opportunity on those kind of problems to look at some fraction review and long division. The next lesson is the final review for this chapter. So I will be doing that with you, and then we start into a new unit. I believe I'm right. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's a new unit after Unit 4. So I'll see you soon, and I hope you have a really good day. Bye-bye.